Hey, it's Base for Base Fit Official and welcome to today's episode of the Base Fit Opinion. The next thing on that list I looked at all that time ago, it wasn't that long ago, it was pretty recently, but the next thing on that list was strength training. What's my opinion on strength training? I absolutely love it, but that's a personal kind of opinion and it depends on what your goals are and where you want to be and where you want your training to take you. So obviously it differs between person to person. Personally, I love strength training. I don't like going underneath 4 repetitions. It doesn't feel particularly comfortable for me yet. It might do in the future, but at the moment the lowest I'll go is 4 repetitions, so 90% of my 1 repetition maximum. So if you've been training for less than 6 months, I would recommend not to perform strength training. I'll get to that in a minute. If you've been training more than 6 months training, hell yeah, you can start to incorporate some more strength focused sessions. So now I've kind of alluded to this in other videos, but I'll go back over it again. Beginners, less than 1 year of training, the highest intensity you should go is 80% of your 1 rep max. That is 8 repetitions. You should never lift a weight that doesn't allow you to get more than 8 repetitions. Never go below 8 repetitions on any set. Intermediates, your 1 to 2 years, you can go up to 90% of your 1 rep max. So that's 4 reps, as I said earlier. You can go up to 4 reps. Advanced, that's 2 years plus. Feel free to go up to 100% of your 1 rep max. Obviously that's 1 repetition. If you feel like you want to do that, go ahead. Be careful of form because you don't want to injure yourself, which is very likely if you lift at such high intensities. So, intermediates and advanced. This applies to you. Loads of 1 to 5 repetitions are used to develop maximal strength. And these are the reasons why. Lifting in a rep range of 1 to 5 forces these specific adaptations, which kind of lends itself to focus on maximal strength. An increase in the neural drive to the muscle. So your brain is better able to send more messages faster to your muscle. That's linked with decreased neural inhibition. So the nerve impulses actually travel down the nerve axons and the nerves to the muscle cells faster. Increased synchronization of motor units, increased activation of contractile structure. So inside of your muscle there are proteins, for example, called myosin and actin. And these muscles so imagine that this is a muscle fiber, okay? And when you contract, this basically happens. One's myosin and one's actin, and this is a contracted state, and then it comes back and you're relaxed. So you have increased activation of your contractile structure, so you can contract the muscles stronger and harder, allowing you to lift more weight. It decreases neural inhibition, which I alluded to in the first point, and it decreases the inhibition of Golgi tendon organs. Now, Golgi tendon organs are kind of things that are found in the origin and the insertion points of the muscle, so where the muscle actually attaches to your bone. What they do is they are proprioceptive kind of mechanisms, and they relay information about the amount of tension going through your muscle to your brain. And so when these Golgi tendon organs kind of think, hold on a minute, there's way too much tension going through the muscle for it to remain attached to the bone, it shuts off the function of the muscle. It completely immobilizes the muscle and it stops working. In an attempt to not allow the muscle to put too much tension through itself and it would literally tear itself right off of the arm, off of the bone. Brutal stuff. So Golgi tendon organs are a good thing. An example of this is when, I don't know if you've ever watched really heavy lifts on YouTube. I get lost sometimes looking at them. But if you see somebody put absolute heavy weight on the bar for a back squat, and they go down into the back squat, and maybe as they're coming up, they just seem to completely, their legs just seem to completely give out. That's because the Golgi tendon organs have decided, hold on, there's way too much tension going through the muscles here, they're going to rip themselves off of the bone. We'll shut them down and in an attempt to kind of save the body, I guess. So the legs shut off. That's the basic mechanism of a Golgi tendon organ. And that happens in 1 to 5 repetitions, which you can do if you're an intermediate and advanced. Now, if you're a beginner, where the strength training comes in after you've been performing the base movements for 6 months and are proficient at them, strength kind of rep range is 1 to 8. 1 to 5 is highly focused on maximal strength. The entirety of the strength range is 1 to 8 reps. You can see here, hypertrophy is 8 to 12 reps. So this 8 number is right on the border, on the barrier of strength and hypertrophy. So you can go up to 80% of your 1 rep max and perform this 8 reps, creep into the strength. So you will focus slightly on strength gains and slightly on hypertrophy gains. The reason that beginners can't go below 8 reps is because of their motor program efficiency. This is the kind of muscle memory, or the memory of the movement that you develop after years of training, so that your body reverts back to good form instead of reverting back to poor form. I hope that makes sense. In a beginner who hasn't been training very long, the motor programs aren't as ingrained into the nervous system as they are with intermediate and advanced. There's a better way of explaining it.
The motor programs aren't as ingrained into the nervous system as they are with intermediate and advanced.
So when if they put on higher than 80% of your 1 repetition maximum, specifically if you're before 6 months of training, you will not have the correct motor ingrained into your nervous system, and you will revert to poor form and all these different compensatory kind of actions. That's my kind of view on strength training. If you're less than 6 months training, definitely not. If you're more than 6 months training, yes, you can start to incorporate 80% of your 1 rep max lifts. If you're intermediate, so you've been training for between 1 and 2 years, you're allowed to use 90% of your 1 rep max, that's 4 reps. And if you're advanced, that's higher than 2 years, more than 2 years, high quality, consistent training, that's very important. You can go up to 100% of your 1 rep max. And beginners only going into kind of tapping in and out of this 8 to 12 rep range, enhancing their motor program efficiency to later allow them to lift heavy weight and maintain correct form and proper form. So I hope this video was kind of interesting, helpful, insightful. You know, strength training is super important for all levels, apart from beginners. Obviously, I just talked about that. You will gain adequate strength through the 15 to 30 repetition rep range, because many of the adaptations are neural and your body learning how to kind of do the movement anyway. Hope this video was cool. Train hard.